We're live.
Here we are.
Here we are. Marc from Ottawa Home Services. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
So we'll have a good little chat here today. But one of the things I want to highlight to anybody listening in is I just Googled Ottawa Home Services today. And this is something I mentioned to you when I met you a while back. 939 Google reviews with 4.9. Good for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's certainly something that we've taken pride in achieving, and we continue to achieve. Multiple monthly.
Yep.
And just getting the right systems in place and having the right intentions in mind. Yeah. And doing what's right.
Like this third-party validation. This is like the best form of praise that you can get. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is not somebody buying 25 Google reviews. This is organic stuff, obviously, and to get that many reviews at that high of a rating is my hat.
Yeah. Well, thank you. These are real customers. Just
I know.
Yeah. Just expressing their gratitude, and we're grateful for them as well. So yeah, it's been good, and it continues to grow as well.
Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. So tell us, like Ottawa Home Services. So what do you guys like? How did you get involved in starting this business? I know you have a partner, but like tell us a bit of how that history came along.
So I came up as a refrigeration mechanic in the trade, as well as worked up in Northern Ontario, where we worked on various types of equipment. So got licensed as an electrician as well as a gas fitter. So
okay.
And had done my schooling in Ottawa, my trade school. So ended up moving here and partnered with a friend of mine who was also interested in running a business.
Okay.
And started Ottawa Home Services.
Okay.
But prior to that, I had been in the trade for quite some time.
Yeah.
And also had taken a sales position as well, which kind of gave me the inner office
right.
experience as well. So putting those experiences together has brought me to where I am today, and that's running the company. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. So knowledge in the field, not just selling, and then being able to get into the sales and having all the experience to sell the services.
Yes.
And,
Good
for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So Ottawa Home Services. So just give me just for everybody listening in, like what do you guys cover? I know there's multiple facets, but maybe just give us a macro picture of like what services does Ottawa Home Services provide?
Yeah. So we provide heating, ventilation, and air conditioning service to the greater Ottawa area. Mm-hmm. So services such as new equipment replacement, regular service, 24-hour emergency service. Regular maintenance plan, annual plans, preventative maintenance plans we provide as well. Mm-hmm. We also provide water heater, HVAC, all equipment rental options as well for consumers. For those who aren't interested in buying at the time, we can offer them the rental program as well. So,
and that's a big difference between a lot of the HVAC companies out there.
Obviously. It is,
and I was surprised when I met you the first time, and I'm like, I was intrigued because obviously most of the HVAC companies or companies that offer rental equipment, they're larger scale companies. You don't know your number, and you guys are local. You're here in Ottawa. Clearly, you have a big footprint. So, and I was interested because us being involved in real estate rentals and property investment, there's an angle there when rental equipment is possible, and most HVAC companies don't offer those services. So, can any piece of equipment that you guys sell can any piece be rented?
Yes. Yes.
So furnace, AC.
In the residential market, yes. Any piece can be rented.
In the residential market.
So
if it's commercial, there's no, you have to.
Commercial, there is a rental program. So a little bit about our rental program. It's an in-house rental program.
Right.
So when compared to other, let's say, smaller companies that offer rentals, those rentals are typically third-party rentals.
Sure.
So those terms and conditions are not written by
so they're not by them. Right.
They're not by them. They're a third party.
Right.
And of course, they have to abide by the terms and conditions provided to them by that third-party contractor, by that third-party company.
Yeah.
Whereas ours is in-house.
Right.
So we can rent all HVAC residential equipment.
Okay.
When it comes to commercial, there is a program out there. It is a third-party provider.
Okay.
That would offer leasing and/or call it rental.
Yeah.
In the HVAC world.
Yeah.
So certainly that is something that's available to commercial clients, not directly through us, but through a third-party.
And that's a big difference. I mean, anybody that's dealt with a rental company. No disrespect to them, but obviously we're a management company. We manage several hundred doors. And when we deal with a company that or a property that has rented equipment, sometimes it becomes very cumbersome for the service team to handle those calls. So I remember when you and I first met, I'm like, oh, a local guy that offers rental equipment that's done in-house is a huge advantage from our experience, being able to talk to somebody locally. So that was a big plus, and I don't know that there's many people out there that do that. So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
So when somebody gets involved in renting equipment, is there any upfront fees, or is this strictly monthly fees? Like, how does that work?
It's essentially just a monthly fee.
Okay.
So we would essentially remove the equipment that they currently have. If it's owned, of course, we dispose of it. If it's rented, we'll return it to the company that they are currently renting from. They would have called that customer for a return authorization number if it is a rented piece of equipment. So they would have arranged that with their current contractor, that we would be replacing that equipment. So we would remove that equipment for the customer, install our equipment. There's no upfront cost. There's $0 upfront fee. And we essentially just start on a monthly rental basis. And that monthly rental basis includes all service and all maintenance. So it offers that peace of mind. And so
so if a landlord here is listening in and they decide to instead of buying a hot water tank or furnace, whichever, they decide to rent it through you, my understanding was that even the services, so if it's defective, there's no service call involved, or is there like a cap, or like how does that?
No, none whatsoever. No, there's $0 fee regardless of the amount.
Regardless of so they rent the unit, say for 10, 12, 15 years, whatever that the lifespan is. So, and does that include maintenance as well? So
yes, it does. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I rent a furnace, I own a rental property, I have one of my units, I have to replace a furnace, you get a rental unit installed. Not only is it no upfront fees, it's actually just a monthly fee, but you include the is it annual maintenance, or
it's every 2 years we'll come in and perform preventative maintenance inspection.
And if it's defective, if it it's the service good, there's no additional fees to that person,
None
so
whatsoever.
long as they're paying their monthly fee.
That's right. That's the benefit of renting. That's that peace of mind knowing that there are no hidden costs. There are, obviously the $0 upfront fee is something that's important to people, but knowing that there will be no surprise cost, there will be no inflated cost going forward. Any repairs, any maintenance required on the piece of equipment, we essentially own the piece of equipment. It's our responsibility to take care of it and ensure that it is operational, and safe, and operating safely as well.
Because I think most of the people who are somewhat educated in this understand that if they buy it outright, that it's less expensive than renting it. That being said, if you factor in the maintenance aspect of it, and if it's defective, and then if I go even further, if I'm a landlord, then the cash flow, it gets affected when I'm buying a piece of equipment as opposed to leasing it. And then leasing it, I can expense it out 100% versus capitalizing it. So from that angle, even from an investment perspective, it sometimes makes a lot more sense to do that, depending on how you do your math, how you want to do your things. But it's interesting. It's interesting for sure. So
no, definitely. As far as the cash flow, I think that applies to whether it's a residential.
You get hit on the cash flow.
We yes, that's where we have to come up with the money, but that's okay. It's a win-win situation, right?
Right.
But the thing with cash flow is, whether you're a commercial landlord or a family, or parents running a family, it's the same thing. Cash flow is oftentimes the issue,
right?
And
these are not typically, they're not cheap expenses. So if somebody's tight on on their cash flow, having to replace a unit when they're not expecting it, or perhaps hadn't thought of having to do that, or whichever, then obviously this is a really good alternative to be able to remedy that issue. So
I often relate to a young couple who's just got married, for example, and they're in need of HVAC equipment. They just don't have the cash outlay. They're just starting their careers. They don't have the funds to for those pieces of equipment. That's when the rental program could be of interest to them.
Okay.
$0 upfront fee. We pay for all service and maintenance. It's a set monthly fee. There's no surprises. There's no cash outlay. To them, that's an option. It's not for everybody. But to them, it's an option.
And it's serviced by you guys, so that way it's not outsourced. Because I know some other rental companies will outsource it or whichever. So for you guys, it's all done in-house with...
All in-house. Yes.
So even though it's rented through you, it's actually serviced through your team as well.
Yeah. But if I take that same couple and you fast forward them 15 years down the road, and they are now with a couple kids, they're making more money, But now they've got it, 2 children or whatever the situation might be.
Yep.
They're in sports, they're in they need their capital for things that are more important than a furnace and an AC, right? So for them, renting the equipment makes sense to them. Maybe not all couples, but them it does.
Yeah.
And then you take that couple and fast forward.
And those contracts are how long are they typically?
Typically for a water heater, it's 15 years. I'm sorry, 12 years for the water heaters and 15 years for the HVAC equipment.
Okay.
Now those are terms, right? Though in order to be legally, to be legally correct, to be legally, we need to be able to offer a term. We have to state a term.
Yeah.
And those terms are identified 12 years or 15 years.
So it's like a minimum.
It's a minimum. Well, we have to be careful saying that.
Okay.
It's not a minimum because the customers can always buy out their equipment at any given time that they want.
Okay.
There's a very simple formula that's in the rental agreement that we agree to.
Okay.
It's transparent. So the customer can see how much their buyout might be at 3 years and 4 months, at 5 years and 3 months. Okay. We just apply this so it's transparent and it's clear. So we don't like surprises.
But that's a big plus because if somebody has... So somebody has, they decide to do the rental equipment, then they're selling their property, their asset, whichever. And it's somebody buying it doesn't want to assume the contract, and it can be bought out at any given time.
Absolutely, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, as far as water heaters, often in the Ottawa market, it's very common to be buying a house with a rented water heater.
Correct.
HVAC equipment is becoming more and more common. Mm-hmm. Some of the pushback we do get from customers is like, what happens if I do want to sell my house?
Yep.
I want to rent, but I don't want to be caught in that situation.
Yep.
Then you can test the market with a rented piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. If you're getting pushback, then you can just buy out the equipment. You're now selling.
You can make it part of the sale too.
However you want to structure it. But you have options with our agreements, and that's what's flexible with our terms and conditions. They're not written only for us, but they're written for the customers as well.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. It had to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. What's the biggest difference between somebody making the decision to replace, say, a hot water tank or going with an on-demand water heater? Because obviously, before, we've seen different things. Obviously, where in the on-demand units were significantly more expensive, but you've since corrected me on that a while back to say, well, hang on, and in today's market, if somebody has a hot water tank, like what is that? What does the client need to consider when they look at perhaps replacing, say, a hot water tank with another hot water tank versus saying, no, I'll go to on-demand unit? Like, what decisions or what questions should they ask themselves?
Yeah. Well, I've been answering that question for many years now. Yeah. Having done several home shows. So
I'll do it again.
Well, quite frankly, it was interesting. Years ago, we did a home show, and the show wanted to know if we had any interesting products that might interest consumers come to the show. And I'd mentioned we had a tankless water heater. And so they ran a little snippet in the Ottawa Citizen, I believe. And it was just a short little column. We had so much interest. And a lot of the people coming to the home show had different accents. They were from Europe, from various places in Europe. And they had been using tankless water heaters for years.
So for them, it was just normal.
And to them, they're like, finally, somebody in Ottawa does tankless water heaters. So that's when they were first coming to the market.
Okay.
So that was kind of an interesting observation we had made. But yeah, so they're used to tankless water heaters. They're more energy efficient. Energy is more expensive there than it is here. But to answer your question, yes, some of the benefits with the tankless water heater is there is some cost savings for sure. In
terms of the heating costs, I guess, right?
In terms of heating costs, yes.
Okay.
As far as your actual heating costs, they're about 97% efficient on average. Your typical tank might be 55%. So there is certainly an efficiency benefit with a tankless water heater. Of course, there's no standing water, so you're not heating that water to be to be kept in a tank, just to be kept warm until needed.
Yeah.
Tankless water heater is certainly space saving if that's and if that's a benefit to some people, and it is to some people, depending on their mechanical rooms and how they're set up. So certainly the tankless water heater installed on the wall as opposed to that large tank sitting on the floor.
Okay.
So there's certainly some benefits to that tankless water heater. Some of the disadvantages, and we're always transparent with customers to tell them these things. One of the things is there's a slight delay in getting your hot water.
Right.
So although they're called on demand, it's misleading. They do start to heat the water as soon as there is a demand for hot water.
Right.
They sense that, they start to heat it. The burner is bigger, so it heats it faster. But there still is a delay. And I would say on average about a 20-second
Okay.
additional delay to what the
Than what
to
they're
what the
used
consumer is
to
used
before.
to.
Yeah, 'cause depending on where the tank is and where you're using hot water.
And customers say, "Oh, that's not a big deal." And I said, "Please stand in front of your microwave for 20 seconds and see how long it can be if you're waiting for something." So I make it very clear. Most customers do not have an issue with it.
But it's good for them to know.
We have to tell them, because the people that we've heard that do not like their tankless water systems have not been told about these things.
Okay.
It's those that are told, they understand it, they expect it. There are minor adjustments they have to make, but they're very satisfied with the performance.
Right.
Endless hot water, with the tankless versus your tank.
Okay.
Another difference as well with the tankless is you can't typically just trickle your hot water.
Okay.
It needs enough water flow to activate the burner.
Okay.
So you would have to turn on your hot water enough.
On.
Yes,
Okay.
in order to activate the burner, and then you can mix it with some cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, and it's funny enough is I'd heard about the delay, but I think it's good to verbalize it and obviously to be upfront with people, because a lot of times people do it for, they want to be eco-friendly, they want to save on energy and so on, without necessarily realizing, that there is some plus and minuses to doing that. So it's nice for you to be able to verbalize that, and then somebody listening in saying, okay, well, like you said, if they know, then it's not as, it's frustrating, but then at least, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then when it comes back, like somebody rents a hot water heater, like what makes you different from the big players in the market when it comes to that? What I mean, obviously, us as property management companies having to deal with companies that rent equipment, we can tell our clients, hey, it's somebody local. We can reach them. They're here. They're local. It's the same people who services that sell them. But is there any other advantages to the end consumer that to rent the equipment through you versus some of the bigger companies out there?
Yeah, I think, in addition to that local service that you would receive, those water heaters, those are customers of ours. So when there's a request for service, it might not be what we call an emergency service, no hot water, but it's a service call that we need to respond to because one of our customers is in need.
Right.
So I think that's one of the differences, is how we don't qualify. I mean, of course, if we're in a real emergency situation, due to the weather, we may have to qualify some of those calls.
Sure.
But these are customers of ours. We need to take care of them. So that's certainly one of the differences I would think you would have with our company versus perhaps some of the larger companies.
Yeah, because our experience in some cases where some people have these the equipment is rented through other companies, which is we would typically try to shy away from doing it because it's never the priority. So the tenant would call, with that no heat, and no hot water tank, no hot water, at the evening, and then they'll say, okay, they'll be there within 72 hours, and you're like, what?
Unacceptable. Yeah, right.
But that happens.
I know it does. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for us, it's like, whoa, no way. Like we can get somebody else to service it, but you couldn't get it serviced by a third party HVAC company that was willing and able because it was rented. So it had to be done by, that supplier specifically. So it really, like for us, from a service standpoint, when we get these calls and there's issues like that, for us from the management company, we're trying to provide service. But if we don't have the tools, then so for us, we saw a huge advantage when we realized that you were doing that. We're like, oh, hang on a second. This could be an advantage where both the client, the landlord, can win by having access to all the advantages of leasing the equipment versus buying it. But then for us to service it, being able to lean on somebody that is here locally and not have to deal with somebody that just treats us as a number.
Yeah.
So it's a big advantage from that standpoint. So
and I think everybody wins in that situation, right?
Giving people good customer service is always a big positive, right? So
it is.
I mean, your Google reviews are. I'm always impressed. The first time I saw you, I was like, wow, you guys are doing really well.
Well, in addition to that, Dan, we talk about what's different. That level of service that we can provide and that we pride ourselves in providing, that's one thing. But the terms and conditions are different,
right?
From company to company.
And so can you dive into that a bit, or?
I can, yeah. So when I first started the rental program, I met with, he was an acquaintance of mine. He was a general manager for Reliance at the time. And he says, Mark, you got to get into rentals. Like that's where the market's going now. but I couldn't get myself to present the types of agreements that were being presented at that time.
Sure.
Until I realized I can offer a rental program, but I can write my own terms and conditions. So as I mentioned before, those terms and conditions are as much written for the consumer as they are for us. And it's an open buyout that can be exercised at any given time. It's a transparent amount. We're not telling them when they want to know how much to buy it out. We're not giving them that number. They can figure it out anytime they want.
The equation is there for
the
them
equation
to
is
figure
there.
out.
It's transparent. It's, listen, if at the end of the day, we've rented a piece of equipment to a customer for 6 years, whatever the term may be, and they want to buy it out, then we've sold them a piece of equipment. We don't have shareholders that are looking for minimum terms, we need. So that's not how our program works. But at the end of the day, we provide a service that some customers take advantage of, others don't, but at least we've given them their options, right? And some of those minimum terms, we have to be careful, because you had mentioned earlier a minimum term of 12 and 15 years. We have to be careful with that. And I don't know what the current agreements stand with other rental companies, but they do have a minimum term. So that minimum term can be, let's say, 72 months. So you rent a piece of equipment from this company, your minimum term is 72 months. If you want to get out of that contract, you first have to pay the 72, make sure that you pay the 72 monthly payments as your minimum term. If you want to keep the equipment in your house, they will then give you the price on how much to purchase that equipment. So that's very different from us. We don't have minimum terms. You can buy it out anytime you want. There's no penalty to buy it out. So I think consumers have to be very aware of those terms and conditions, and they can be confusing sometimes, but they can certainly reach out to us for any sort of clarification. If it's a comparison, we'll give them our honest answer and opinion, and they can make their own decisions that's best for them.
And I know, we're just speaking out, and like for us internally, I can tell you that if we have our chance, we're trying to move them towards you, because we feel that the client is much better served. We're able to serve the end client, which is the tenant in most cases, and everybody wins. And obviously having the flexibility of the contract is a big plus as well, because if somebody decides to sell the asset, as you alluded to before, they have that option and not have to worry about these all these restrictions that could be placed upon them.
That's correct. Yes,
for you guys, man. Good.
I remember emailing one of your staff on, I believe it was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We were getting a water heater in for one of your customers, for one of your tenants, and we were able to to satisfy them. But that's what we do.
Because it's it, and I mean having obviously the 24-hour. I mean, a lot of people will say 24 hours, but you guys have the crews to do it. So
I got to tell you, one of my pet peeves is companies who say we provide 24-hour emergency service.
We just don't know when we'll service you.
They'll answer your calls. 24 hours, but they won't send somebody out 24 hours a day. So they still have somebody to take your call to make you feel better. But they don't provide 24-hour emergency service. And it's very misleading, and it's one of my pet peeves.
I know.
I had to share.
That's okay. No, that's good. That's fair. And this is more of a selfish question. I mean, and obviously some of the people listening into this were into real estate investing and so on. And obviously you guys do very well. And the building you're located at in Ottawa, you own. And I mean, obviously a lot of the HVAC companies or any service-based companies, they'll lease their property. So what was the motive behind buying the property versus leasing it?
We originally started leasing. We were in a different location at the time. Our lease was up, and we had, if you call it a staggered lease, where the lease went up every year. So fifth year, our lease, our lease payments were getting up there, and then we started taking a look at the market. And I think it was just a matter for us, for our experience, it was a matter of timing. We had been in business long enough. The cash flow was there that we were able to afford, what was required. That 20% deposit, I believe, was required in order to purchase the property. So I think it's a matter of timing. I think any business owner should always be looking towards that, and sooner than later if they can. Having said that, life gets in the way. Challenges get in the way. It's not always something you can do when you want, but certainly keep it in mind as an objective to be able to
especially it's a long term too.
Well, to own that real estate. And our accountant said several times how many companies he's dealt with, and company owners, unfortunately, if they haven't built their businesses right, they end up, their property is more valuable than the businesses they've worked growing for the last 20, 30 years. So certainly something that's always been recommended is get some real estate, get that asset, let it appreciate over time.
Yeah.
And you'll be happy you did. So
but then compounded, but with a company that performs too, like you did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been
to get both sides.
but it's been instrumental. Yes, absolutely. Right. Yeah. I mean, you got
both sides.
You got to keep paying the bills and keep the doors open. Yes.
No, good for you.
Yeah.
Ever since I met you, I've always respected you.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
I'm glad you were able to come in and share a bit with me and the audience, and then that way,
pleasure.
hopefully, hopefully we get everybody get something out of it. And on a final note, like if anybody wants to use your services, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
OttawaHomeservices.ca.
Okay.
Or our parent company, hotwaterottawa.ca.
Yep.
We can always be reached at our phone at 613-829-9700.
Yep. Mike, did you hear that? We'll put it in the screen.
We pride ourselves on always having somebody live answering the phone for you, 24/7.
Yeah.
So that's how they can be reached. And my business partner and I, Al, we're always accessible. For any reason whatsoever.
Al's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Al's a good guy. He does a great job at taking care of the guys in the field, and so together we've managed to to make it work. Always accessible via email, phone, text. We're easy to find.
Yeah, and even I mean, from experience, I mean, obviously that's been our experience as well. So good for you guys.
Yeah, good. Well, thank you.
Perfect. Hey, Mark, thanks for coming in.
All right, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks.